Thank you, Gabriela.
Thank you, Luis.
I am because you are.
Yeah, that's so sweet.
I feel good. I feel grounded. Why don't we look around and see who else is with us? Because we are, because somebody else is at the same time. So please look around, and if you are at home, just look at your cat or your family. But take a moment to look around. We are living these moments of where we need collective healing. And thank you, Gabriela, because this incredible meditation is going to help so many people to get grounded. Happy minds require healthy and minds with a purpose. So I think this pledge that we are asking you to think about is very important. If you're online, remember that you can go to the board. There's a big board. And here we have a board as well where you can put your pledge. And this is important because then we are going to follow up and we are going to create rope teams where we are going to be helping all of you to fulfill those pledges. That's something that is the essence of No Barriers, is the essence of elevating others as we live. So we are not going to move into another very important topic because if we don't have a job, we want a job. But actually, we know that working is a very important part of our lives. And work that doesn't just dignify who we are, it's actually giving us purpose. And in order to introduce the next session, I want to bring to the stage two very special people. Before the summit, they were sponsored by Wells Fargo, somebody there doing amazing work. Now they're friends. And actually, Andrew Holbrook, who is Senior Vice that I love, he's the president of Enterprise Disability and Connection, and he does it for free, by the way. So this is one of the jobs that he does it because he really wants to elevate the practice and the understanding of these more than 9,000 employees that work in the disabilities or are part of the disabilities group at Wells Fargo. And by the way, he's a movie star. You saw him yesterday. He was part of From My Window, as you know, with Melissa Simpson. And Melissa is somebody else that we are bringing back because everybody wants her back here. So we are going to have an amazing and powerful exchange, and we are going to be talking about disabilities at work. This is so important. The more we include, the more we bring all these people with amazing capabilities that we have to explore and discover in many cases, the more we see cultures change for the good, companies become more profitable, and we see so much good happening, but still we have a stigma, the stigma that disabilities at work is a barrier. So let's welcome Andrew and Melissa to the stage, and let's have an powerful exchange of disabilities at work and how to improve and make that work for everybody. So thank you very much, Andrew and Melissa, please.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hi.
Where's my scar?
I'm coming. The steps again.
Oh, here we go.
As Melissa comes, yeah, I have to share this. She called me 2 weeks ago and said, Luis, I'm Melissa. And I say, oh, wow, Melissa, I've seen you in movies. I'm calling you because I want to thank you for your contribution. You're the guy who's sending all these emails about happiness, right? But I want to thank you because of that. And I was like, wow. So this is Melissa. You know her from yesterday, but I know her because I had that conversation, and you, honestly, you empowered me and you gave me a lot of hope.
Thank you,
So
Louis.
thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
hello, and Melissa, let's make sure we get the sun right in my eyes and out of your eyes. That's important. So good morning, everyone who's sitting here in this lovely morning in Keystone, Colorado, but also everyone virtually. You may have heard, I am Andrew Holbrook. I am the Enterprise President of Disability Connection at Wells Fargo. And in that capacity, I represent the 9,000 employees, caregivers, and allies of people with disabilities at Wells Fargo. And so first of all, I'm honored to be here with Melissa, who over the last 3 days, we've got to spend a lot of time and she's made a lot of fun of me. So I hope she does that tonight, or this morning rather. And I also am just honored to be here as Wells Fargo's representative. We are a proud sponsor, presenting sponsor of No Barriers, the No Barriers Summit. And I'm just absolutely thrilled to be here. And just personally, this is a journey that I've been wanting to be a part of for many years, and for various reasons have never made it. I think it was serendipitous that I got to come this year and get to spend so much time with you, Melissa.
Awesome.
And now we get to spend a little bit more time with one another.
It's been awesome.
You know, Melissa and I have a little bit of a script that we've worked through, and we've decided to go off script this morning because I think we've got some great conversation topics, some of which came up yesterday as part of our summit together. And so, you know, let me just start first by something that we did, just leading into our conversation first. So Melissa, yesterday we watched your film and we learned a lot about your journey, and something about your journey to overcome the barriers that you've encountered in your life, and especially, you know, the physical barriers in order to get to the top of a mountain, right? That is, I mean, all of us go through that, if you will. I think there were a lot of lessons that we gained from that, and I think you shared a lot of those with us yesterday. But, you know, one of the things that I know you and I chatted about was that you had to climb yesterday. You had a wonderful experience yesterday. So could you tell us a little bit about what your experience was like yesterday and what lessons you garnered from yesterday's summit?
I experienced that it was harder than 2 years ago, but I also experienced what it's like to have a rope team in your life and how we all work together. Even though I was the captain of the team, I was like, here, everybody, let's do this. And they were all real receptive of that. And I'm really glad I had the team I had yesterday. Everybody was real receptive of my needs. I had a breakdown moment, which only lasted 2 minutes this time, but I pushed through and I got to the top. And communication is key with me, and I find that throughout my entire life. You have to communicate, otherwise you lose track of everything. So yesterday, communication was big.
Yeah, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but I think that's just a brilliant lesson. And one of the things that I know we all had challenges yesterday.
Yeah.
That was a tough summit yesterday.
Yeah.
And just in terms of communication, when people without disabilities communicate with you, what is the one thing that you would ask them in communicating most powerfully and effectively with you and other people with disabilities?
Sometimes one big thing I would like to point out is sometimes they don't get down on your level. Like some of them stand up here and I have to strain my neck to look up at this. So I like it when people kind of kneel to my level to look me in the eye and talk to me without me straining my neck. Does that make sense?
It makes sense, and for some of us, we don't have to kneel down so hard, so low. I mean,
Yeah.
there's, none of us are, not all of us are Eric and Skylar that are sitting at, 6 foot whatever. So, yeah, I find it much more comfortably at our level, if you will. Well, yeah, I think that's wonderful. It's something that I would say I didn't mention as part of my introduction, but I'm a person who was born with a hearing impairment, and I have worn hearing aids since the time I was 7 years old. And one of the things that I also encourage people is something similar to you, which is you sometimes have to get to somebody's level, get to their face level, especially with people that might have a hearing impairment or might be deaf, and that yelling louder doesn't help in many cases. It's just make sure you get in front of that person,
Yeah.
just like you said, Melissa, get down to the same level, get to the same level. That's what's important as part of communication.
Yeah, and I really appreciate if people ask me first before they assume that I need help, to ask me if I need help. Don't just be like, okay, let's just push you. Okay. We need to communicate with me if I need to be pushed or my needs need to be met. So I encourage everyone to not just assume that I need help and to ask if I need help.
Yeah.
And one big thing is that when I go to the store and stuff, people will stare at me and I'm like, okay, what's the big deal? If you have any questions, you just ask me. Don't stare at me. Don't point at me. Just ask me, and I'd be more than happy to tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's so if there are only two takeaways that we come from this, get to my level, and if you have any questions, ask me.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's so simple, and yet it's something which I think a lot of people in the disability community, this is the two easiest asks that we think that we have for those that are not familiar or comfortable with this community.
That's for sure, Andrew.
Yeah. So I think what you're talking about is really close to the theme of our conversation, which is empowerful. I love that word. My wife told me this. It's a portmanteau, which means it's two words that got smashed together into one thing. So it's powerful and it's empowerment. And so I just love to just ask you, in your journey, what are the things that you have learned that have empowered you most and have made you feel the most powerful?
Not to let anything get me down. If you have a bad day and you need some empowering, I just keep telling myself, the no barriers model, what's within me is stronger than what's in my way. I have my bad days. On the film yesterday, you guys saw the good part of me, and usually I'm pretty good, but some days I come home and I'm exhausted and I don't want to do anything the next day, or and then I just have to get out of that head funk and tell myself, let's just go and live the model. What's within you is stronger than what's in your way. And that really helps me get through the day, no matter what I'm going through.
Yeah, I mean, and thank you for tying it back to the no barriers motto. I think that's in part why we at Wells Fargo, and yes, don't hit your mic with your hand. This is the other topic that I'll need to learn. It just as a presenting sponsor, that we're so excited to be part of this journey. And it's also part of the shared mission that I have at Wells Fargo, leading Disability Connection. This is going to take us, this conversation is taking us to a topic that I think you and I were just discussing in the green room, which is, there's a lot of things that you have to do, but there's also a lot of things that others have to do in order to help break down those barriers. And I think in particular, we were just talking about employment. And employment with people with disabilities is something that's a passion of mine, if you will.
Yeah.
And so I know you've had experience in the workforce, some of it good, some of it not so good. So what advice would you have for people that are either hiring or looking to hire somebody with a disability?
One thing I would say is include us, don't exclude us, because it will make life hard for us when you wake up can I go into the sentence?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Can I go into that? One of my bad experiences. One of my bad experiences is my last employer didn't even tell me good morning most of the days. He would just throw a file in my face and tell me, here, put this file away. Not good morning. One day he grabbed my shoulder and I had to leave. I just had to leave. And I didn't want to leave because I had work to do. So I just finished my work and politely stepped away because I didn't want that to be a barrier in my life. And that day I went home and talked to Mom about it, and we decided that we're going to keep going even though he doesn't talk to me. He wanted to talk to me. So I encourage everybody that's looking for employment, please include us, don't exclude us, and be nice to us. We might be on different intellectual level, you must say, or something like that. But please treat us like we're human beings, because we are human beings and we deserve a job. We deserve to be in the workforce.
So Melissa, I told myself I wasn't going to cry. So you're pushing my boundaries here, if you will. But I'm really glad you mentioned your mom, in that the other important component of lives of many people with disabilities is that caregivers are enablers of not just our well-being, but also our employment.
Yeah.
And I know that your mom, and I were just chatting about this, and that it's an important part of people with disabilities that come to work. There are workplace accommodations that in many cases need to happen. And so can you talk a little bit about, some of the workplace accommodations?
So like in my previous job, we had a file cabinet, and I had to get down and reach down, and I have thoughts that go clear down my back, and so it makes it hard to lean over. So what we did was I handed it to my aide, and she helped me put it away. But workplace accommodations would be make the file cabinet a little bit more accessible, a little bit. If you have a lower cabinet, maybe make that the first cabinet where we can reach it, maybe. And along with workplace accommodations, it comes the job coach. which becomes very few and far between where I live, because I live in Leadville, and we have a very, very small town with a very small community. So it's very, very difficult to find people to help us, and nevertheless compassionate. I find a lot of people that aren't compassionate, that need to be compassionate to our needs and our stuff. One more thing I would like to mention is workplace accommodations, and to everywhere else, not just the work accommodations, but going into the bathroom even is, I have the toilet paper holder right here banging against my knees, and they can move it up here so I don't have that problem. But I ran to that at my last job as well. So I think that would be a workplace accommodation for us too, as well.
Well, and Melissa, I mean, yeah, I love the fact that you stopped and said, "Can we talk about this?" I said, "Yes, we definitely want to talk about this," and that's why we wanted to have this powerful exchange this morning.
Awesome.
And I can't quite see how much time we have left, but I do want to get one question, at least one last question. So I think we definitely have time for that. And that is, what's the best advice you have ever received?
So a friend once told me, and I will repeat this, this is something you heard from me last night, is let failure be a friend. If you sit on the couch every day and don't try, and if you fail, don't let that crush you. Let that be walk on that. Just walk on that in and soak that in, and then get up and try again, because you never know what's going to be around the corner for you. And he said too, is to get up and try again till you succeed.
Let failure be your friend. I guess.
Failure is a friend, not a foe, is actually what he said. So.
And so are we going to get the t-shirts printed with that motto for next week?
Are we going to talk to No Barriers about it?
I don't know. We're going to have to talk to somebody about that.
Talk to Dave.
Okay, yeah, so maybe Dave's in the green room and we'll work on that. So I can barely make it out. I think we've got another 4 minutes, which is great, because you were alluding to it a little bit earlier, and that some of the advice that you were providing us, and others that may be watching or listening elsewhere around the world. So I know that when people ask me, and they say, "Don't touch your microphone," and second, that they ask me, what's the one thing that you would like people to know about your disability?
That your disability doesn't define who you are. This wheelchair is one thing I use to get around. It's a mobility and device, and that's not who I am. A lot of people this day and age in this society looks at me as a person with a disability, and I hate that. I know that's a strong word, but I absolutely hate that. I want people to look at me for who I am inside instead of the outside. I know I can't walk, but that doesn't define who I am. I am a person with a 4.0 degree in college. I got honor. I was in National Honor Society in high school, and I graduated with honors in high school. And I'm a smart cookie. And just ask them yesterday on the climb. I was using my medical terminology, and they're like, "Whoa, you know all this stuff." And they're like, "What does that mean?" I'm like, "Well, I can tell you one thing. Cortisol means a stress hormone." And I was just talking to them. I was just educating them, and stuff like that. So look at us for who we are, not as a person with a disability or a cane or a walker. Look at us for what's within us, as our model presents.
So I could not agree more that you are one smart cookie. You're one wonderfully intelligent, communicative, vibrant person to be around it. And I just have to say, it's been an honor to be
Thank
to
you.
share this
Andrew.
stage with you this morning. You're welcome.
Are we gonna get to that one question
I don't know.
about college?
Are we gonna? What is our time on this one? We can go one more question. Good. Okay. So again, totally off script. Melissa and I have a shared passion around education. Before I joined Wells Fargo, I was a college professor, and that's something which I, am really proud of. But there's a lot of things that college professors don't know about their students. And what in particular would you ask of people in education in general, college professors, you 4.0 smart cookie, what advice would you give educators for students with disabilities?
I would say include us and don't exclude us. I had one, and I won't go into complete detail because of timing, but I had one very, very, very bad professor in college, and he completely excluded me. I was doing a couple assignments for him, and he looked at me straight in the eye and said, "You better fix this or you're gonna fail." And how I took that was very, very hard. It's like, oh no, I'm gonna fail. I think they need to look at us, and this is different from what I said before. When I was talking about excellent, they need to talk to us like down on our level again, because that might help. Like, don't tell me that I'm gonna fail, or if I'm going to fail, tell me, but tell me how I can improve before you tell me fix this or you're gonna fail. It's like feast or famine, or let's fix this. Can you help me improve this without backlash? One thing he told me was you better fix this song that you chose because it has the word God in it, and I want you to fix this before you fail. You better fix this song before you fail. And I'm sitting there going, no, I put like 3 hours of work into this already. You're not gonna, how am I supposed to? I looked at him and he goes, I don't know. I don't know. Just go try. Just go and look at it. So I had to depend on my student friends to help me because he wouldn't help me. And that shouldn't be that way. You should be able to approach your professors and ask them politely if they can help you. And I'm so thankful that I had that one friend that told me, no, don't change the song. You can just still with it. You can just fix some things here and there. And she told me what to fix, and I was able to fix it. And thank God I passed that. I had one time, and this was our final project. And this was the straw that broke the camel's back, I would say. We were watching The Office, and now I don't like The Office because I had to watch it 300 times for my assignment. But I was sitting there, and he asked all 7 of us that were sitting in the room that were left in his classroom because everyone else dropped out, that the same question, but then he was like, okay, Emily or whoever it was, and he went down the line. He didn't even look at me. He didn't even look at me and asked me one question. And so I went to the counselor and we discussed this and we got it fixed. And I got the same grade as everybody else because I stood up for myself. I didn't let that man get the best of me.
So Melissa, I think you brought it all back to some of the themes that we started this conversation with, and I'm just honored and privileged to be on the stage with you, and I cannot thank you enough for sharing your story with us.
Thank you, Andrew, for having me. It's been a delight this morning.
Okay, and now I got to give you a hug. Thank you so much.
You're awesome.
So I do believe that's the end for us. I just want to thank again, No Barriers for giving us this opportunity.
Yes,
to be
thank you,
here.
No Barriers.
And just ask everybody across the globe and here in lovely Keystone to just have enjoy the rest of today. We've got a great program and I know I'm really excited about it. And with that, I think we are done.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, thank you, Andrew and Melissa.
Thank you, Tom.
What an empowering and powerful conversation. I'm so thankful that you guys shared a little bit of your story with us, Melissa. But what you may not know is Melissa is also a No Barriers volunteer extraordinaire. In fact, she makes one-to-one phone calls to all of our donors, to everyone in our community, and we get feedback almost every day about how powerful it is to hear the stories from Melissa. So thank you for that, Melissa. Backstage, I asked Melissa, what is it that motivates you to do all of these one-to-one conversations? And what she told me was, 4 years ago, I was in a very bad place. No Barriers gave me purpose. No Barriers gave me an opportunity to find that light inside of me and move forward and keep climbing forward. And Melissa, through her one-to-one phone calls, continues to pay it forward for all of our members. So thank you, Melissa and Andrew. Well, here we are. Here we are. It's 2021 and we are back together. The No Barriers community, both in person and virtually around the world, is gathering, and it feels so good to be back. You know, we are a diverse community, people of all backgrounds, people of all abilities. And to be able to come back under our No Barriers flag, bringing both our brokenness and our bravery, bringing our full selves to the table, knowing that, as Melissa said, people accept us as we are and help us forward toward our mountains that we climb. I just want everybody to reflect on these 10 words that are on the heart, they're above me, and they're on the heart of every member of our No Barriers community. What's within you is stronger than what's in your way. And if you're at home, I want you to say them aloud. And if you're in person, I want you to say them with me, with some gusto. What's within you is stronger than what's in your way. All right, welcome. We have the opening ceremonies underway and a great, great show for you today. And I am honored to MC this celebration. Before we go any further, I just want to thank Wells Fargo for being a presenting sponsor for us today, and all of our donors that make this all possible. You know, one thing that I think about when I think about No Barriers is the importance of people being able to access our philosophy. And, you know, last night we talked a little bit about how that philosophy is in the book. But more than that, today we want people to learn about the No Barriers life elements so they can continue moving forward in their journey toward their pledge goal. So while there are 7 No Barriers life elements, today we're going to be spending some time focusing on vision, reach, and alchemy and rope team for the elements. So we'll be coming back to those throughout the day. Without further ado, I wanted to introduce our very first guest. We have up next No Barriers newcomer. She has been a member of our podcast, Keely Cat Wells. Keely is an amazing woman who founded her first company at a young age while she was still sitting in a hospital bed. Keely is the founder and CEO of C Talent, a talent agency dedicated to representing deaf and disabled artists, athletes, and influencers from all over the globe. Let's take a look at some of the incredible talent that she represents.
You can be yourself and you can perform with Down syndrome. You can. It helps you, it guides you, you follow your dreams, you just love being who you are.
As a Paralympic athlete, I have won 2 gold medals just recently in Australia, which was amazing. It's crazy to think about when you're wearing a cap that says your last name on it and you're swimming for your country. It's the best feeling ever. Don't flex on your arms, kids.
I saw something very wrong with the fact that no one looked like me.
I'm Sam. I have ASD.
Well, I'm Rudolph. I have MS. Alrighty, let's see here. Very organized. Good on you.
I'm April 2020 Playmate Marsha L, and this is a lesson in guitar.
Be yourself and head up high. Do your best.
Let's go.
Let's go, bitches!
Without further ado, Keely Cat Wells.
Thank you. Hello, good morning. So amazing to be here with this incredible scenery. So I'm going to start with a quote.
something that my grandfather reiterates to me all the time, and I never truly understood it until relatively recently. It's build a better mousetrap, and the world will beat a path to your door. It means to build something better than it was before, or to create something that hasn't worked or been more efficient, most effective or efficiently previously. And I think all of us here have had a moment in our lives when we've been challenged, when we didn't feel understood or represented. In my case, it was when I became very sick in my teens. I was misdiagnosed, undiagnosed, and treated poorly by the medical system. During that time, my dream of being a dancer was slowly being taken away from me. It seemed out of reach and out of the question. I was stuck in hospital for a very long time, being poked and prodded with what I thought was little to live for. And how wrong could I have been? I remember one day sitting in my hospital bed, looking out of my window in England, where it was raining, obviously, and I was gloomy and just as depressed as the weather, finding myself in this state of hopelessness and giving up. But a friend came to visit me, and she told me to think of something that I could give. I thought to myself, what can I give? I'm sitting here not able to do anything, feeling very useless in this hospital bed. And it took me a very long time to really grasp the concept. I slowly found myself finding ways to make it work. I started a simple social media page, and I would post about my experiences and share resources that helped me and hopefully help others in similar situations. And this prepared me to elevate, to be a leader who impacts the world and who serves. I then started speaking to some of my friends who were still in dance college. They were graduating and they were slowly trying to find work as dancers. And I was helping them. I started representing their interests and helping them to find jobs. And I inadvertently found myself being a talent agent from my hospital bed, still undiagnosed. When I left hospital, I was in this new body, one that had changed quite dramatically since first going into hospital. It had been operated on and was very different. I have a trifecta of disabilities, all of which you can't see when first looking at me. I have PTSD, autoimmune, and a permanent ileostomy. Getting out of hospital was a big shock. Being thrown into this world that is not designed with you in mind anymore. I wanted to throw my hat back into the ring, to be a performer again. Not dance, but I thought I would try my cards at acting. And I needed to get out of England. I needed to go to a place where the weather was better and there weren't quite so many bad memories. I went to Los Angeles. In 2018, I went to the heart of the entertainment industry. And now, where I permanently live with my recently wed husband and my pup. When I got to Los Angeles, I was supposed to only stay there for a week. I know. But I loved it so much. I found a way to get my medical supplies flown over, and I stayed there 3 months longer than expected. During that time, I actually booked an acting job. And I went to a fitting, which is where they make you try on all of the costumes you're going to be wearing during the production, and they take pictures and they send them off to all of the people that need to give clearance. During the fitting, one of the costumes I had to wear was a bikini. I was scared. I had operations and I had pretty new scars, and I wear a bag on my stomach. So scary at the time. Soon after that fitting, I received an email a few days after, and they had told me that I could no longer have the role. They said I would be too confusing and too off-putting to the audience. This was obviously a great shock and a great realization. It was time to build a better mousetrap in Hollywood. Time to build Hollywood better than it has been before. Representation has been an issue for so many years. If we look back at stereotypes from the Hunchback of Notre Dame to Captain Hook, and most recently the Witches and countless others, disability has consistently been portrayed from the incorrect and ableist perspectives of non-disabled people. Only 5% of characters are authentically played by disabled people. That's 95% of disabled characters being played by non-disabled actors. And there's an even worse representation and stat behind the camera. And that's why I founded C Talent, which is a talent management company that represents high-profile deaf and disabled talent, such as influencers, actors, athletes, and more. Our goal is to change the way the world views and defines disability by utilizing the massive reach and the power of the entertainment and media industries. We work really hard to get our talent placed in all roles, in all projects, and not just the disability-specific ones. We want to see ourselves truthfully represented, our experiences truthfully told, and we also work with companies to help them become inclusive beyond compliance. Companies often talk about diversity being this seat at the table, but we want to pose the question of, what if we don't have access to the door to get to that table? The more we normalize disabled people being experts in subjects beyond disability and authentically represented, then the more we can change discriminatory laws, we can increase employment, and so much more. Challenges, barriers, negative and broken systems are inevitable, and it's what we do with them that matters. I say allow these challenges to be lessons. Hone your skills and use these as tools that will allow you to utilize them and turn them into fuel. Be a pioneer, lead and persist, and enjoy the journey. Being disabled has taught me how to navigate, how to fight for my worth, how to manage a team and keep going despite social and systemic barriers, and so much more. And all of these skills have become invaluable when it came to starting my journey as a business owner and an entrepreneur. As cheesy as it sounds, I believe everything happens for a reason. And if you had told the 16-year-old wannabe dancer that I would be Forbes 30 under 30, have a husband and live in California and be speaking on this stage today, I would have laughed in your face. But the reality of it is, the world is going to continue to throw us punches, and we're going to fail hundreds and hundreds of times. And as long as we continue to learn, share kindness for ourselves and others, recognize our own strengths, then we have the power to punch back stronger. Around every corner is an opportunity. And one thing I want to leave you with is that I wish someone had told me when I went out with the goal of making sizable change that not everyone is going to agree with it. I'm still learning how to handle conflict and the people who challenge the change that I and other disability activists are trying to make. Be prepared for those frustrating comments and disagreeable point of views. You don't and won't please everyone. I would also say change happens with you first. So do your best to live everything you preach. Change also happens within your communities, your towns, and you don't have to be speaking at the United Nations to make a difference. I learned about social media activism and the power you have through just a comment or an Instagram post. So whatever your goal is, just start. And try not to get overwhelmed by the magnitude that needs to be done, but focus on incremental impact. And never underestimate the power of one conversation, and advocate for yourself first. So with that, I leave you with the quote, "Build a better mousetrap, and the world will beat a path to your door." Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Keely. Build a better mousetrap. Such wise words, something we all can take some wisdom from. But what's really powerful to me is it was when Keely was in her hospital bed that she shifted her focus from one on self to one on elevating others. And that is how Sea Talents was born. Thank you, Keely. Well, next up, we have an amazing performer. Are we ready? Are we ready? The big show is about to come to Keystone. I want to introduce you to Magic Morgan and Liliana. They have performed all over the world, all 50 states and internationally. They've just been awarded Magician of the Year by the governor of Wisconsin. And they've been voted Best Deaf Stage Act in the world. And you are about to find out why. Put your hands together for Magic Morgan and Liliana.
You
Hey everyone, how's everyone doing today? My name is Magic Morgan, and I'm a magician. I started learning magic when I was 6. I started inventing it, creating different things, and it's something that I've been working on, so now I get to share it with you today. If you notice, I mean, I am so used to, much more humid environments. Up here, it is so arid in the mountains. So I've traveled quite a bit. I've done a lot of performing. Probably 45 different countries and all the different states. And it's just been, wow, just so many different barriers that I've experienced in my life performing. I am deaf. People see that. They're like, oh my gosh, how do we? But yeah, being deaf, I can absolutely do this. I have been through hell, and I have persevered. I have gone through, I have kept going, and I gotta say, I believe that I can do this. So I can show you that I can do this, right? You can be successful, I am successful, and you can do it. So now, we're gonna see who can do it. I need some volunteers. Who's willing to come up here with me? And I promise I'm not gonna saw you in half. You're gonna be just fine. I wouldn't do it. Go ahead, come on. I need some volunteers. Person in the green shirt over there. Yeah, come on up. Yeah, do you mind? Do you mind coming up here? Perfect, okay. Then we need one more person. Yeah, you. Why don't you come up? Yeah, come join us. Okay, great. I'm gonna have you come over here to the side of the stage where the ramp is so you can come up. Yeah, you wanna come up? Come on, yeah, you can do it. Come on up. Yeah, come on. Perfect. Yeah, come right over here. That's great. That's great. Okay, so I want you to come up here and I want you to introduce yourself. Yell it out there. What's your name? Janine. Nice to meet you, Janine. Great. Okay, you just hang out right there for a second. Linda. Great. Nice to meet you, Linda. And right over here. My name's Andrew. Hi, Andrew. Great to meet you. Perfect. So I believe I can do it. I believe you can do it. I am going to empower you today. You can do this, okay? You can do whatever journey you need to get through. And really, you have power in your hands. We're going to show you, okay? So everyone put your hands up, okay? Come on, everyone, put your hands up in the air. And you think, I believe I can do it. Wherever I'm going, whatever my Everest is, whatever I need to do, I can prove that I can do it. Okay, now put your hands down. Good job. Okay, so first I'm going to show you this very heavy glass pitcher. See this glass pitcher? I mean, it is heavy, You want to feel it? Feel how heavy that is, right? That's solid. Okay, and then I have this right here. Go ahead and check that out. And, you can kind of bang on the glass with that a little bit, give it a tap. Yep, right there. Okay, so feels like it's solid, right? Go ahead. Yeah, perfect. Yeah, go ahead, place that right there for me. Okay, great. So I want you to just inspect everything, okay? Make sure that I don't have any secrets. There's nothing hiding. It's, what it looks like, right? There you go, take that. Okay, you can hold that for me. Okay. See, and it all comes apart. We have all the pieces. It is what it is. Okay, if you can put that back. Yeah, go ahead and set that up there. Great. Okay, hold on a second. Can you hold that for me? Great, thanks. Okay, yeah, go ahead and put that right there. Okay, and just look again. Do you see anything hiding? Is there anything not obvious right now? Okay, great. Okay, it's clear. You can see through it, right? Okay, so I'm gonna have you put the picture just right there. Good, good. Okay, so yeah, go ahead, bring that stuff over here. Okay, we have some gloves. We have some protective eyewear. Do you want to switch those out? Okay, yeah, maybe just, yeah, in the pocket. Okay. so put those gloves on. I mean, safety is a priority, people. This is great, right? Okay, so what I want you to do is go ahead and grab onto that. Yep, that's the right hand. Go ahead and lift it up. Okay, I'm gonna position this a little bit different. Okay, so what I want you to do is put your whole arm in there, holding the pitcher. Okay? Does that feel good? You feel strong? Okay, Linda, I'm gonna have you come over here, and I need you to send them some vibes, okay? I need you to put your power in that you believe that pitcher is gonna do something. Okay, I need you to do the same thing, okay? Are you ready? So send your vibes. Everyone, I need your hands in the air. Send that power into that glass, okay? Okay, as you're doing this, I want you to put your hand over the pitcher, and so just, in the air, over the pitcher. You're sending the vibes too. Everyone has to be doing this. We got to do this, okay? Everyone, send the power. You're sending the power. Come on, I really need you guys to really believe, okay? This is really important. I need all of your vibes. Wait, you need to put your hands in the air over there. Okay, we ready? We got everyone? Thank you very much for your help. Thank you, Linda. That was great. And you guys can all exit the stage. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Yeah, you just throw those wherever you want. Okay. Okay, give them a round of applause, everyone. Could you believe that? You guys all did that. That was great. So Liliana here, I'd like to introduce her. And my name is Magic Morgan. And I just am very grateful to share our performance with you. Thank you all for being here and for letting us be a part of it. This has been such an inspiring event. Thank you to our AV team. Thank you to the interpreters. And thank you to Liliana. Thank you, everyone. Take care. Love you.
Put your hands together. Well, thank you. Next up, we have someone very special. It's the director of our No Barriers Caregivers group, and her name is Heather Zoccali. Heather is going to share her remarkable story and exactly what she has done through her own personal experience to be present with all of the caregivers that we serve, and soon some of that 53 million out there of caregivers that need to be served. We're so thrilled to have Heather with us to share a little bit more about what it is to be a caregiver and how that journey in her own life has been profound. Thank you, Heather. So we're going to show the No Barriers nuggets.
I've realized that forgiveness is something of a selfish journey. 6 years ago, my son was walking to school and got hit by a hit-and-run driver, leaving him a T12 paraplegic. For me to forgive the guy that hit Connor, it took 2 years, and we went through restorative justice. And that gave me a moment to forgive myself and release guilt, because me and my son had a huge argument literally minutes before his accident. So that was healing on both forgiving of others and of self. It was a big moment for me. I grow every time I forgive. I grow every time I allow that space. And if I allow it to just keep eating me up, it becomes ugly and dark. And I personally believe that you can't start on personal growth, self-love, or self-care without starting with forgiveness. And that's forgiveness of yourself and forgiveness of others. I'll have that desire, like, I know I need to get to that point. I have to do this for myself. For me, learning to forgive myself, to forgive others, those moments have allowed me to find my voice and turn my pain into power. Hi, everybody. That's loud. Welcome to the summit. I'm so glad everyone could make it, and I hope you're having an incredible time. I'm just gonna share a little bit about my story, and we're gonna talk about the No Barriers Caregiver Program. So my name is Heather Zolkali, and I live what I like to call a brutally beautiful life. What does that mean? I'm gonna quickly summarize my story around the central theme of turning pain into power through those beautiful, brutally beautiful moments that culminate through the connections we make, the friendships we make that advance us forward in order for us to mend our broken hearts and spirits, because that's a human connection. We're all gonna have heartbreak. We're all gonna have our spirits break. But if you make the conscious choice to let love, light, and forgiveness enter, man, what a powerful life and purpose you can find in that. I have been a caregiver my whole life. It started very young with the adversity of having a father that had a major stroke when he was young that left him paralyzed on one side. And that was also complicated by his diagnosis of MS. I also lived in a house that had two people with severe mental health issues. And to top it on, because the universe keeps wanting to teach me stuff, I believe, I had a brother that dealt with addiction, which led to sexual abuse. And that I survived that abuse, and through that, I found my voice and my purpose. I found my voice that I wanted to do something good, and then my purpose is to make my corner of the world just a little bit better, however that may look. I also have been cared for on the other side of caregiving, which truly opened my eyes to what caregivers go through and how whenever a change happens, it shifts every dynamic in your life. It shifts your dynamic with your work, with your friends, with your family, with your spouse. Everything has shifted and changed, and you have to find that new normal. I was cared through for an autoimmune disorder. I was cared for through multiple diagnosis of malignant melanoma. And then also I live with Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And that results in nocturnal seizures when I'm asleep. And so that taught me a lot, having to have gone through that. March 2015, I found myself thrust back into another caregiver role. My son, Connor Walsh, who, if you don't know him, he's just this little bundle of joy, and he was the first one proud to make it up the mountain yesterday in his hand cycle. We started off as a typical morning day in our house, teen parental argument. He was 16, and we were arguing what I now know was silly. Grades, I know you can do better, you have more potential. And he left that morning without us doing our family mantra, I love you, make good choices. He left and slammed the door before those words got out of my mouth. Not more than 5 minutes later, as he was walking to school, he was struck by a vehicle and the driver left the scene. The driver left the scene, leaving him in a ditch, alone, cold, and paralyzed. As we got the call and we were going down to the hospital, I was sick with guilt, thinking, oh my God, please don't let that be the last words that my beautiful baby boy heard from me. And I will get emotional, and I've stopped apologizing for that. So when we get to the hospital and they say, you know, there's no chance he's gonna walk again, this is what's gonna happen, you're gonna have to have months and months of rehab. ER doctor, a fireman, and a nurse pulled me aside and they said, Heather, I gotta tell you something, your kid is amazing. And in my kind of trauma moment, I was like, oh my God, they're preparing me for the worst. And I think the look on my face, they're like, no, from the moment the people that found your son, the EMTs, the firefighters, the doctors, he has not asked about his legs. He has not asked about his pain. He has been obsessively asking, have you reached my mom yet? Have you told her, I'm so sorry I was such a jerk and I want her to forgive me and I'm gonna be a better son. And that struck me because I had that same thought. I felt epically as a mother that day. I didn't show patience. I didn't tell him I love him. And then now I didn't protect him and then I couldn't fix him. So when we got to see each other, I gave him a big hug and he had these big, beautiful blue eyes and all these tears were coming. And he gave me the biggest hug and he started to apologize. And I said, stop, that's in the past. We're right here together, you're alive. I'm hugging you, I'm touching you. These people are gonna fix you and life is gonna look a lot different, a ton different from now, but I can promise we are gonna get out there and we are gonna do everything we did before, just in a different way. And I promise we're gonna have a kick-ass life. I just need you to get through this surgery and I'll see you on the other side. And so to this day, he asked one more question that still like sucks the oxygen out of my soul. He said, Mom, can you fix my legs? Doctors, nurses, everyone, you could hear a pin drop. And again, I went back to that epic moment, like, oh, I have failed again. Like, I can't do that, Connor. But as you know, we're honest in this family. I can promise to be there beside you. I'll make it as easy as we possibly can and we'll get through this. And I'll see you on the other side, buddy. So that next morning, in true Connor fashion, he was in the hospital bed with his like big goofy smile. He was, Mom, you're here. And I was like, so how are you feeling? Knowing that's a really dumb question. But Connor was like, well, I feel like I kind of got hit by a car, Mom. And so I knew with the humor intact, I was like, all right, we're gonna get through this. If he has his humor, our family is really good dealing with brutal stuff. It'll be okay. So we spent 2 months rehabbing at Craig Hospital, which you heard last night is one of the top rehab facilities for spinal cord injury. And when we got there, again, that brutally beautiful combination came together. It was brutal in the fact that there were 7 other teenagers there when Connor was there, but beautiful that he had teens that could relate to what he was going through, where his other friends would have no idea. It was beautiful for me that I had caregivers that could get what I was going through. And as he was 16 and you're an adult, you're still fighting in the room and you're sometimes super frustrated. And they got that. And there was no judgment. And that was beautiful. And then it also dawned on me that caregivers do not give themselves permission to take care of themselves. They would come out, I haven't showered in 3 days. I haven't done a walk. I need a coffee. I'm so stressed. And so my suggestion was, our loved ones are all in the hospital room. Let's go across the street and get a martini because I could use about 10 right now. And they looked at me and they said, are we allowed to do that? I don't think we're allowed to do that. And I was like, yes, I'm pretty sure there's every time we all need a drink or whatever your favorite beverage is. It's now when we're in the hospital 24/7 for months with our loved ones. And if we don't start doing it now, you're not going to practice that self-care when you get home. And so after we left Craig, I knew there was a gap for caregiver support and how I wanted it. I wanted to take off my caregiver hat and just be Heather. I wanted to find myself again. I wanted to go do yoga. I wanted to hang out with friends without feeling the guilt and shame. I knew I needed to deal with my trauma and my grief and my loss of what I had envisioned my life to look like because I had to quit my job and I had to be a full-time caregiver. And caregivers don't address that really hardly ever. But before that happened, I knew I had some things personally that I need to do. Forgiveness, as you saw in the video, has been a massive part of my life, my whole life. I reconciled with my brother 2 years before Connor's accident, and we forgave each other and came to an understanding. A year later, he passed in a freak accident, and that was a big epiphany moment for me that I don't want to wait on forgiveness. It's a personal journey, and however you have to get there. But I was able to have that moment with my brother, and I could release that and let that go, and that opened up more space for me to bring in the good stuff. Then I met with the gentleman that hit Connor through restorative justice. And if you were going to tell me I would meet with a man that blew our life up, and it would be one of the most beautiful moments in my life, I probably would have been, probably not. But we met, and he was remorseful, and he knew that he wanted to know all about our story and Connor. And I just said, look, I forgive you. I forgive you, but I'm going to challenge you to be better. Be better than that day that you left my son on the side of the road, cold, alone, not able to move. I'm going to be better. I'm going to try to be a better mother, try to be a better human. And we're both going to fail at it. And usually when I fail, it's pretty epically. But we're going to get back up and we're going to try again. And then just this past year, I had to forgive my father after he passed by suicide. And all this forgiveness, I have this massive release and all this open space now to let that love and light enter. And so I started a foundation, the Arch Foundation, which was specifically for family caregivers, for them to come and rediscover themselves, find out who they are, find a new purpose, laugh again, know we have a community that we can talk to and not be judged. And there's, as you've heard, there's 53 million caregivers out there. 40 to 60% experience major depression, thoughts of self-harm. They rate their health as poor to fair. Excuse me, poor to fair. And so we started that foundation for those caregivers, and it was so needed. And we worked a lot with No Barriers. We used their campus. Connor comes here all the time. My youngest son comes. So it was a natural fit for us to join forces, and now we can serve, hopefully one day, all these 53 million caregivers. And throughout that, our in-person is designed. We have a four-day, three-person retreat, and that's for caregivers to come take off their caregiver hat. We talk about our past, present, future. We practice forgiveness of self and others, because as I said, I don't believe you can start true self-love or self-care until you've forgiven yourself and you have that space. Then self-compassion. And then, as all you guys will do, we do a self-care pledge. And we can start as, I'm going to take 5 minutes every day, lock myself in the room and tell my family, unless the house is on fire or there's blood and bones, you do not interrupt me. And that's my self-care. And so that's what our pledge is going to be today, and that's our pledge at every retreat. Up to date, No Barriers has served over 400 caregivers. This last year, we had 1,400 applications for our retreats, and we could accept 60, maybe 70. And that's an amazing feat in like a year to have 1,400 people, and that was just in 1 month. And so I just want to leave basically with I see some volunteers. I did want to announce this. Our caregiver program has an army of volunteers that are mostly caregivers that have given over 2,500 hours of volunteer hours for the caregiver program this year. And that is amazing. And I just wanted to acknowledge that publicly, because we couldn't do it without them. And they're all caregivers as well. So they're investing in this program because we've invested in them. And so thank you, volunteers, for doing that. And lastly, I'll just leave you with a bit that, like I said, life is brutally beautiful, but it's on us to create the beautiful bits out of the brutal. And I hope you do that. And I'm going to challenge you to make your self-care pledge and support those caregivers around you. Thank you.
Thank you, Heather. Thank you for opening our eyes to the work of the caregivers and how important it is for all of us to both keep in mind how much they're working and how much support we continually need to give. 53 million caregivers out there. We've only served 400, but that list is going to grow and it's going to go global. Speaking about global, this message is to our global audience right now that's watching from over 40 countries around the globe. So we've got this mantra, this 10-word mantra. What's within you is stronger than what's in your way. What I would like everyone who is around the globe right now to speak in their native, or to write down in the chat, their native tongue, What's within you is stronger than what's in your way. We're a global organization and we need your help. And this is a quick, easy way that you can do that. And a special shout out to my mother-in-law who is in Croatia. You know, the pandemic was tough on everyone. Well, she knitted some masks and she knitted a no barriers mask for us. So if you're watching, Nan, this is for you. Thank you so much, Vala. And maybe you could be the person from Croatia that helps us understand what's within you is stronger than what's in your way. Well, yesterday we heard from Eric, who was giving Melissa some tips on motivational movies that she could watch. Well, our next guest has a motivational movie favorite of his own. He is an athlete and, you know, played football. And so, of course, his favorite movie was Remember the Titans, right? That's a good one. Put your hands together for that. But more than the movie that he likes is his own movie-like story, which I think he will play himself in one day. I want to introduce you to Chris Norton. I am so excited to have you meet this gentleman. This man has defeated all odds after suffering a severe spinal cord injury in 2010. He's been featured on the Today Show, Good Morning America, NBC Nightly News, Fox and Friends, and People Magazine. And today he will reveal the steps to overcoming challenges and how to find the power to stand after being knocked down. Chris, we're so happy to have you here and join our No Barriers community. Chris Norton.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm tired of people pushing me around and talking behind my back. As a presenter, it's my job to get you to trust me right from the start, and I figured out a really quick way to get trust. It's by having clean shoes, because you can never trust someone in a wheelchair with dirty shoes. Okay, enough of the wheelchair jokes. It's great to be here at the No Barriers Summit, to be speaking to not everyone who's here today, but everyone joining us online. And I know what it's like to deal with barriers after my spinal cord injury. And today I'm excited to share my story and a lesson that's helped me to break through my barriers and reach my Everest. A lesson that I believe will help everyone here to break through their barriers. So let's jump right into my story. I want to take you back 11 years ago to my freshman year at Luther College in Decorah, Iowa. And as an 18-year-old college football player, I had my life all planned out. I was gonna be an All-American football player, meet the girl of my dreams, and then make enough money to one day own a lake house. Or better yet, the girl of my dreams family already owns a lake house. But then on a beautiful Saturday afternoon in October, it's the 6th game of the season, in the 3rd quarter, one play changed everything for me. I'm lined up on the far right side for the kickoff. The ball is kicked. I sprint downfield as hard as I possibly can go. And I see this opening for me. And my instincts are telling me this ball carrier, he's gonna try running through that gap. But I'm gonna stop him. I'm gonna drive my shoulder so hard through his legs, he's gonna drop the ball. And I go for it. I collide with him at full speed, full force. But I mistimed my tackle by a split second. Instead of getting my head in front of the ball carrier, my head collided right with his legs. And in an instant, I lose all feeling and movement from my neck down. I'm trying so hard to push off the ground, but nothing is working. It feels like someone just flipped the power off to my body. I'm immediately rushed out of the stadium and flown out by helicopter to Mayo Clinic to have emergency surgery. And what I didn't know is that I suffered a severe spinal cord injury. And my life is about to drastically change. And over the course of our lives, one way or another, we all get hit and knocked down. But what's most important is after that fall is finding that power to climb back up. And I know in my heart, if I could learn to break through my barriers and reach my Everest, then you will too. I had one simple lesson help me to reach outside my comfort zone and discover new summits. And thankfully, this lesson was introduced to me as a kid growing up. Something my dad always told me, if you don't like where you're at, then do something about it. Essentially, he taught me early on the importance of being radically responsible for your life. And that means all outcomes. the good and the bad. And the more responsibility you accept, the better you respond to adversity. And the quickest way to become more adept at being responsible for your life is to practice cutting out blame, the need to complain and all excuses. Because these behaviors, they keep you emotionally stuck. They prevent you from doing all that you can do. Blame is not going to help you reach your Everest. And you know you're practicing radical responsibility when you realize that the only thing you truly have control over in life is how you respond. And I had no idea as a kid how empowering this lesson would be later on in my life. I wake up after surgery, blurry-eyed, groggy, thinking, I just had the worst nightmare of my life. And then the surgeon comes in and confirms that my nightmare is now my new reality. He says, Chris, you have a 3% chance of ever regaining any feeling or movement below the neck. Not a 3% chance to walk, a 3% chance to move or to feel. A 3% chance to scratch an itch on your face, to feed yourself. It's also surreal. I could hardly process it. Because yesterday at this time, I was walking. I was suiting up for my college football game, and now I'm lying in the hospital, paralyzed from the neck down with a 3% chance to move or to feel. I'm numb to it all. And then I get mad. I tell myself, no way, not me. This is not going to be my life. I'm going to beat the odds. I will not be part of the 97% who don't recover from this. I will do whatever it takes to be a member of that 3%. And I get going to work, taking on this radical responsibility. And I do the only thing I could do that day, which was to nod my head yes and no. And I nodded my head yes and no for hours. It looked like a giant bobblehead just bouncing my head all around. Eventually, I shrugged my left shoulder, beating that 3% odds. But regardless of the fact that I can shrug my left shoulder, I'm still a prisoner trapped in my own body. Every single time I tried to move and I couldn't, would just send me in a panic attack. And then trying to go to bed at night, when there's no distractions from keeping my thoughts and fears from pouring out, I'd ask myself questions like, will I ever meet a girl that would want to be with me? Will I ever have a family and be a dad? Will I ever be happy? And most nights I cried myself to sleep and I can't even wipe the tears from my eyes. But as helpless as I felt, I knew I had to keep going because where I go in life, it's up to me and how I respond. And you'll never get rid of all your negative thoughts and feelings, but you can change your response to them. And over the course of the next few weeks, I worked my way from 1 hour to 3 hours of physical therapy. And I realized 3 hours is not enough. I need a 4th hour. So I asked the hospital for a 4th hour. And they say no. I asked, well, why not? And they say, well, we've only ever been allowed to give 3 hours. Eventually, I got that 4th hour. A couple more days go by and I realized 4 hours is not enough. I need a 5th. So I asked the hospital for a 5th hour. They say no again. This time, they meant it. I never actually got it. But instead, I asked my physical and occupational therapists to write up workouts that I can do on my own outside of my scheduled therapy time. So if I wasn't sleeping, I was working. And here's the truth. Your future will take care of itself when you take care of today. Your future will take care of itself when you take care of today. And 6 weeks later, on Thanksgiving morning, 1 week removed from being told by my doctor I'll never move anything in my legs, I wiggled my left big toe that this buzzkill doctor said I would never move again. And I was pumped. I was so fired up. I was telling every nurse and therapist that day, you go find that doctor, you bring him in my room so I can wiggle my toe in his face. Fortunately for him, he was gone that day. I might have been a little too fired up, so it worked out for the best. But this toe wiggle eventually became so much more. I started to get strength in my quads, hamstrings, even able to stand and walk with assistance. But by focusing on getting better one day at a time, I started to see results, not just with my physical recovery. Most importantly, I saw results with my mental health. I started to feel happier. I felt empowered and regained some confidence I had lost. And this choice to be radically responsible helped me understand that what's within you is stronger than what's in your way. It gave me the courage to go back to college and start dating again, which led to falling in love with Emily. I knew she was the one. I finally mustered up the courage to propose to her. Thankfully, she said yes, otherwise it would have been really awkward. And then we set our sights on our Everest, which was to walk 7 yards side by side on our wedding day. And for me, it took 7 years of training to pull this off. And I want to show everyone here how it turned out.
I, Chris, take you
For my lawful wife,
for my lawful wife,
to have and to hold
to have and to hold
from this day forward,
from this day forward.
I, Emily, take you, Chris,
for my lawful husband,
for my lawful husband,
to have and to hold
to have and to hold
from this day forward.
this day forward.
Based on the vows you have shared before God and these witnesses, by the authority committed to me as a representative of Jesus Christ and his church, I now pronounce you husband and wife. Chris, you may kiss your bride. Oh, thank you. Thank you. This lesson of being radically responsible for my life, it kept me going when I didn't always feel like going. And if you don't accept radical responsibility for your life, it's going to be difficult to be resilient when times are tough. To find the motivation to reach your Everest, you'll be tempted to sit back and relax as if life is some big Uber ride, just hoping you make it to where you want to go. And if you don't get there, you might want to blame your problems on someone or something. However, if you truly take on this radical responsibility for your success, your happiness, then effort and hope will start to come naturally. You'll stop making excuses. And when you do experience a barrier or setback, you'll find the resilience to work through it because you know it's up to you. When life doesn't go your way, don't get bitter, get better. And if you want the resilience to break through your barriers and reach your Everest, then remember this lesson and make the choice to be radically responsible. And a wheelchair life is not one I thought I'd ever lead. But over time, I've come to realize that my spinal cord injury has been my single most life-defining gift, far greater than football ever could have been. It's opened doors and led to summits that I could have never imagined, like meeting my wife, Emily, adopting 6 kids and fostering countless others, opportunities to inspire others through my motivational speaking, my nonprofit, the Chris Norton Foundation, books, and now my documentary, 7 Yards. And so today I want to challenge you to break through the barriers you're facing. To apply the lesson I shared with you today, apply all the lessons from the No Barrier Summit. Make the choice to be radically responsible. Give up blaming. Focus on your response and what you can control. And when you do all this, I promise you, that's where you're gonna live a no barriers life. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, Chris, thank you so much for being part of our community and for your wise words today. I think you've moved everyone. There's got to be some onions here, right? Oh my gosh. Thank you. Thank you, Chris. Radical accountability, radical responsibility, right?
That's right.
We all need to have that, and Chris has showed us the way. Well, if your heart has been opened by Chris, I want it to stay open just a bit longer. Our next guest is someone that we all know. It's Mandy Harvey, the singer-songwriter that touched the hearts of 500 million people through her appearance and Golden Buzzer winning on America's Got Talent. Mandy has been a part of the community and has done more for No Barriers than any person I can imagine since she joined our team just a handful of years ago. Mandy is a close friend to so many in our team, and the great thing about her is it's not just the music she plays, it's the story she tells and the gifts that she gives. I am so pleased to be able to introduce her once again to the No Barriers stage. And before you leave this session, I want everyone to go to iTunes and download her 2 new songs, Masterpiece and Bought Myself Roses. And I'll be the first to announce that come January, she will be releasing an album, Paper Cuts, that will set the world on fire. With that, let me introduce Mandy Harvey. Mandy, so good to have you.
Let me know. It's good? Well, hello. It's one of those things I couldn't like, it's a deaf win. It doesn't change anything for me. So haha, suckers, all you people who can hear. Sad needs for audio. No, I'm so glad to be here. I know that I got to see several of you yesterday when mountain. Didn't work out the way that I would like it to for me physically, but it's a beautiful opportunity to, again, even in frailty, even being broken as I was up there, to be surrounded by an incredible group of people who were very supportive, very loving, and genuinely wanted things to be better. So I had prepared this song to be able to play while we were up on the mountaintop, but we're still in the mountains, so I feel like this works. It's not entirely the right mountains in the song, but I think we'll be all right. Heaven, West Virginia, Blue Ridge Mountain, Shenandoah River. Life is old there, older than the trees, younger than the mountains, blowing like a breeze. Country road, take me home to the place I belong. West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home. Country roads, all my memories gather round her. Miner's lady, stranger to blue water. Dark and dusty, painted on the sky. misty tasting moonshine, teardrops in my eye, country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. I hear her voice in the morning hours, she calls me. Radio reminds me of my home far away. And driving down the road, I get the feeling that I should have been home yesterday. Yesterday, country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia, Mountain Mama, take me home, country roads. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you very much. I have been honored to be a part of No Barriers since, I think, before Telluride. If anybody went to the Telluride Summit, woo! I don't know, Dave, how many years ago was that? Too many. Many moons. I've been a part of this organization, and I have spoken to a lot of you guys in person, individually, but for those of you who I haven't gotten to meet, No Barriers has been one of those organizations that has changed my perspective on the world around me. When I first was introduced to Eric and Dave, I was at Jay's Bistro in Fort Collins, Colorado, playing jazz, and they asked me to speak at their board meeting before the summit in Telluride. And then they invited me to go to Telluride. And I had a lot of very honest conversations with a lot of the people there. And again, I was asked, why are you not writing your own music? And it's absolutely terrifying. So I said, well, it's too scary. That's just weird. And what's the worst that can happen was something that just kept getting repeated. And Eric was one of those people who straight up just like kicked me in the pants, was like, you should do this. I'm like, oh, okay. But I realized that the fear of expressing myself was silly. And to be able to be in a community where there are so many people who are wanting you to be successful, who are cheering you, who are holding your hand along the way, that there's nothing to really be afraid about. So I know that this is a song that a lot of you know because I've played it many, many times, but it is about my No Barriers journey. It was me sitting on the floor saying, okay, if I'm going to be real, I'm going to be real all the way. And I'm a broken mess. Let's just be honest. This is where I am right now. But I don't want that to be the end of my story. So I wrote Try as a reminder to get up off the floor when the days are difficult. And yesterday, the day was very difficult. If you got to witness any of that, that was a fun, not so fun time. But these are parts and moments of my life that are normal. And so when those days come, I sing this song to myself just to remind myself to get up one more time and to keep moving forward, because you have a choice. You have a choice to either let your days pass by and not go for it, or to be brave, to dare, to dream, and to rely on your rope team to go farther than you thought you could go. I don't feel the way I used to. The sky is gray, much more than it is blue. But I know one day I'll get through. And I'll take my place again if I would try. If I would try. Oh. I don't love the way I need to. You need more, and I know that much is true. So
try. Oh, there is no one for me to blame, 'cause I know the only thing in my way is me. I don't live the way I want to. That whole picture never came into view. But I'm tired of getting used to the day. So I will try. So I will try. If I would try. If I would try. Thank you guys so much. And I genuinely hope that if you can take away anything from being at the summit, either in physical or virtual form, that you know that your dreams are achievable because you're not doing them alone. You have a massive community there to move with you every step along the way. And you never know where those steps are going to lead. I for sure never thought that writing a simple song like Try would ever be heard around the world and used as an encouragement to many. So allow yourself to encourage as many people as possible. And I hope that you enjoy the rest of the summit, guys.
The opening ceremonies, but don't leave, because coming up next, we're going to dive in deep with learning about vision. One more hand for Mandy Harvey. We're going to take a 1-minute break and come right back, and then we'll get into our core curriculum of the day, where I will be your facilitator as we dive in at the deep end of divining your life through vision. All right, I'll be right back. See you soon. Don't move from that spot, although you can move into a shadier spot. Talk soon. Yeah, that'd be good.